Welcome to the Riding in the Weeds podcast, where we tackle life's inevitable challenges, from navigating mountain bike trails to overcoming business hurdles and forging deeper connections with pets and people. It's easy to find yourself tangled in the weeds, but we're here to help with insights and strategies that'll get you out of the weeds. Our goal is to boost your performance in both sports and everyday life by sharing essential skills that we've learnt along the way. Through tales of our entrepreneurship journey, thrilling biking adventures, and fostering meaningful relationships, your hosts, Natasha, Lockey, and Ginny, Branden, will guide you on a journey that's not only enjoyable, but also inspiring. Join us to gain confidence that you need to navigate the trails of life. 1, 2, 3. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. Welcome to Riding in the Weeds. This is episode 73. Merry Christmas. It is that wonderful time of the year. And we just thought that we would have a quick little discussion about how Christmas can get you in the weeds and a few ideas about how to stay out of the weeds. And let's just dive in and talk about all the stuff that comes up around Christmas. I got my thoughts. Ginny's got hers. So I am Natasha Lockey. I am a life and mountain bike performance coach. I am all about making life a little bit easier, a little bit more fun, and figuring out ways that we can feel like we're living the dream every day. And of course, we have Ginny Branden, who is an animal communicator, and she's really good at it because she digs into the intuition. She is bigger than just talking to your animals. It's about how can you expand. And so, Christmas. It's Christmas. It will be when we're listening to this episode.
Yes, and I'm excited. I love Christmas. I really do. I like the season. I love the lights. That's my favorite. Well, maybe not my favorite, but that's one of the big things that I really enjoy. Living here in the Mid-Atlantic on the East Coast, it can get very gray and dreary like it is today. And so the lights during this season kind of carry me into winter and to get past the solstice and the dark. I struggle actually taking everything down a little bit. I have a hard time with that because I love the sparkle and the lights and the glow and the warmth that comes with all of the decorations for this season. So I know I've been sending Tosh updates of like, oh, I got this up, I did this, I got this tree up. And so yeah, I love the decorations and things that makes it bright and cheery.
Yeah, I really love the lights as well. I didn't really understand Christmas lights when I was a kid because Christmas is, well, actually, it's really funny because Christmas is kind of shrimp on the barbie. I'm not from Australia, but we barbecue. We're out in the sunshine. We're on the beach. You know, we go to the beach at Christmas. And I come from a family of a Canadian and a British. My mom's Canadian, my dad's British. And so my Christmas was always roast turkey, ham, all the fixings. And I have these conversations with my husband sometimes. I'm like, is that normal? He's like, no, not really. Like, yes, people do it, but it's also not, it's not like everybody's doing it. And so I've always had this weird conflictingness with Christmas. And we did have a couple of Christmases that were in the snow, and probably some of my best memories were of your, like, the American dream Christmas. You know, you're
Classic white Christmas.
Classic on the side of a ski hill with a tree, and there's presents from like the Gap, so they're all like beautifully boxed. And I don't know how much that really exists anymore, or how much now we're trying to recreate that, and how much stress actually goes into that experience.
Yeah.
And I treasure those memories, and part of me wants to recreate them and make them happen, and the other part of me is like, that was a moment in time.
Yeah. And I think this conversation is a little bit fascinating because you're talking a little bit about the intersection of rituals and tradition with what's happening in the now, wherever you are. And like we've always had the whole ham and turkey, and we always had both, and again all the fixins, and like it was a full-blown dinner meal. And that was what I grew up with. I also grew up in the South, so there was never any snow. So, we might have been outside playing on Christmas too, because it was frequently not that cold there either. So we could go out and run around in the yard, which the parents were always happy to have us kicked outside. There might have been a fire in a fireplace, but maybe not, because it might have been too warm for that. You never know. But I think you're looking at that intersection of the rituals and the tradition that happens around a day like Christmas that is so ingrained and so permeated throughout such a large part of our culture. And what I think is interesting, though, is I think it's an opportunity to examine those things that we have done for years and to really question, are they giving me value? Or are they causing me stress? Or are they causing problems in some other way? Or are they detracting from my experience? And to really question, is this what I want to be doing now? We used to make a lot of cookies for a lot of people. And one year it just got to the point where I was like, I can't handle this anymore. I just can't do it. And so we kind of abandoned all of it, which I somewhat regret, but maybe we'll get back to it, maybe we won't. But at that point, it's just, is this serving me and my ability to connect with other people in a good way, or is it making it harder on me? And that's one of the things that I think is hard, especially when we have those things that are traditions from our childhood, or are the ways we used to do things that were imprinted on us when we were little. Can we allow them to evolve as we become adults, as we grow our families, as our families become blended and change? Can we allow them to evolve and change with us instead of trying to hold on to something that might not be serving us in the best way possible anymore?
I think that is honestly the key. I think the idea of evolution over a lifetime and taking that moment that was so neat. Every single Christmas I've ever had has been completely different. When I was a kid, we'd have the tree and we'd have all of the presents and we'd always do this special breakfast. And then the day would evolve and we'd have dinner at some point. I don't really remember anything else, but then I remember the fact that a boat would break down or the office would be sinking or some emergency would happen with my parents' business and we'd all rally together and Christmas was going to save the day. You could probably make a pretty funny Christmas movie out of the jumble of all of the stories. I don't remember one Christmas where we didn't have to go and do something that was out of the ordinary. And I think I like to watch Christmas movies because I see this ideal and I get all of it from there. But again, I think you're really right. It's that evolution and not trying to recreate the special. And you see these movies or these TV shows that are about the family that are trying to recreate that Christmas that happened. And it's the first Christmas without dad and dad's passed away or granddad or somebody in the family isn't there anymore. And trying to hold on so tightly and trying to recreate, but we can't recreate. It's a feeling. And if we can hold on to how do I want to feel around this time of the year, you don't need a Christmas tree for a feeling. You don't need a turkey for a feeling. You don't need a beach for a feeling. You just need to be able to be in that feeling, and the rest of it will flow. So they tell me.
Yeah, I mean, the items that we use, the trees, the lights, the candles, the garland, all of that help elicit the feeling. But they're just tools. And just like any other tool that we use, we can choose how we want to use those. And you're right, you don't have to have them to have the feeling. And what's to say that we might not end up some years not doing anything at all. I know the first year we moved here, we settled on the house on November 30th. That was not a lot of time to get prepared for Christmas. There was no way we were fully decorating anything. I think that year I put up the garland, and I have a string of garland that goes above the fireplace. And I think that's all I did. I might have put lights around the beam in the basement. My basement's unfinished, and so there's a big beam that runs through, and I think I wrapped lights around it. And that was all I got done. And I considered that to be an accomplishment at that point. Because I was living among boxes, and we were painting and trying to figure out how to organize everything and all of that. So that year was a little hard, though, because I didn't get to have my lights. And I didn't get to have all of the things that help make me cheerful in the gloomy winter that we have here. That just meant that when everything else came together, each year after that, I've loved it even more because I've had that to build on now.
I think it's really interesting that the love languages and the different personality types. And I think people really struggle with that when, your mother is the homemaker who decorates and does all the cookies. And your entire life, when she said, hey, you want to do cookies? You're like, I really want to do something else. And you didn't want to make the cookies with her. So when it comes to you, now you've got your family. Who are you going to be? Do you need to be your mom in order for Christmas to be Christmas? Because if there isn't a mom who's decorating and making the cookies, does that mean that Christmas is wrong? And I think that is something I have struggled with my entire life, is this need to create a certain environment for things to be correct. I do not post flowery things about my husband on his birthday on Facebook. And I struggle with the inner dialogue in my head saying, well, that person clearly loves their husband more than you love your husband because you don't do that. Their relationship must be better because they do that. How often have you seen that relationship's broken up a year later? Like, the things that we do not define the experience that we're having. It's the experience that we're having that defines the things that we do. And I think when we get it backwards, it creates a lot of conflict and it makes anything not fun, regardless of what it is. To your point, we're moving into a house that might be finished on the 16th of December, I think. And I'm moving out of a camper that was supposed to be going to Mexico. I have no Christmas. I'm also stuck with my husband. We're moving to the middle of nowhere, which is 2 hours from any town that sells anything. So what, we're going to go Christmas shopping? Like, okay, you got half an hour. I got half an hour. Let's go. I'm going to go and buy you. What was that thing that you desperately needed? Okay, I'll go and get that. And you go and get the thing I desperately need. And we'll pretend we didn't buy them. And we'll wrap them up. Even though we're going to need them right when we get where we're going, we'll wrap them up and put them under the tree. Like, how do you manage that situation? I've been struggling with this for the last 2 weeks. How do we make Christmas happen?
I think this is where the idea of the experience is more important than the things.
Mm-hmm.
And what is the experience that you want to have? And I assume that where you're going is going to be beautiful. So in my mind, a really cool experience for Christmas would be to go out and enjoy it together on the day. Or if it's snowing its ass off and not nice outside, you stay inside by a cozy fire or find some way to connect, cook a little bit together or something. Do something that makes a memory.
Yeah.
I have some friends who have their entire extended family go to the beach every Christmas. That's all they do. Yeah. They don't do presents. They don't do gift exchanges. Everybody packs up and they go literally on a vacation to the beach in December when the beach is quiet. It's a completely different experience than going in the summer.
Yeah.
So how can you take those things, that feeling of the season, and turn it into an experience rather than a thing that has to be created or managed. How can you find the way to appreciate the experience and create the ritual and tradition around an experience rather than just packages under a tree?
Yeah.
Or even the physical lights or the physical tree that's in the house.
Well, I mean, we're going to a 400-acre property, so Ian was like, well, we should probably have a tree because there's going to be one growing outside. So we're like, okay, well, when we're in Costco, we should buy some Christmas lights. So if we just have a tree with Christmas lights on it, then, like, cool, that'll be interesting.
I've done that.
And, you know, like, what are we going to have for dinner? Let's have lamb roast because we both love lamb roast, and that'll be a nice dinner. And let's make sure we order those skis that we're going to order so that we can go out and play in the snow. Maybe that's the day that we learn how to ride our snowmobiles and we ride them around the property. You're absolutely right. It doesn't matter. And I think so often the problem is that we are stuck trying to recreate last year or the year before or that perfect Christmas. Because if you have that perfect, all those things happen, then it will feel like it did when it was perfect.
It never does.
Well, it never is going to because you don't remember the argument that happened. Our perfect Christmas in Big Bear, California, I think there was snow. It snowed on Christmas Eve, I believe. We went and we got a Christmas tree, and my dad felt sorry for one of the trees. It was like I think it was like a Snoopy's Christmas. The tree was so sad, and he felt sorry for this poor tree. It had no branches. It was tiny, and so that's the one he bought. So then we had to figure out how to make this really sad tree look Christmassy. There was so many things that happened during that time that I don't really remember because it was perfect. How do you create perfection when you've forgotten all the bad stuff and you're just remembering the good stuff, right? And I don't even know if we went snowboarding or skiing that day. I can't remember. I just remember it being perfect. And it was the people that we were with that made it perfect. And it was the experience that I remember. And this year it's going to be me and the dog and my husband. Nobody's inviting us to Christmas dinner.
Sometimes I wish I wasn't invited to Christmas dinner. Not going to lie.
I mean, I might be invited to many Christmas dinners, but I'm a very...
You will not be able to
I
attend.
will not be...
You'll have a very good excuse of getting out of it. No one will hang that over your head with guilt, which is probably something else we should talk about. Because the experience of other people around us trying to recreate certain things can push them into behaving in ways that are not appreciated. And I know when the whole pandemic happened in 2020, by the time we got around to Christmas, things were still social distancing in the area. And I was like, no, I don't want to go to large extended family Christmases. I'm not okay with that. That year, I also had farms and things that I did need to take care of as well. And like, I had too much going on, and it just was a drain to me to try and think of doing all of that. And I said, no, we're just going to go back home, and I just want to be able to be with my things and with Eddie and just us. And to relax. There's this whole build up to this one day, and I'll be damned if I'm not going to be able to relax and enjoy that day. And if we're running around all over God's creation to who knows how many people's houses is not going to create that feeling, then don't sign up for it. The challenge is when you set boundaries with people around your energy and your time like that, they often get offended. But that's where you have to learn to stick to your convictions about what is valuable to you and what will keep you out of the weeds. Because if you're going to be exhausted for the next week, or you're going to feel crappy because you overextended yourself or whatever it may be, then your peace is worth more than doing whatever that activity is.
Yeah.
Despite how upset they might be. And we've had to do that with family here and there. Sometimes around Christmas, also around other holidays. And it's like, this is what's going on, and this is all we can do. And when you stand your ground and hold your place and hold your energy and don't let other people rock you off your energy, then generally it works out pretty fast. And generally all of that smooths out and it doesn't become a problem anymore. But as much as you might want a big Christmas with a whole lot of people, there's somebody else out there who doesn't want Christmas with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And everybody gets to define what that looks like for themselves and what feels good for themselves when it comes to that. That's a personal choice.
I spoke to a friend recently and I asked, how do you guys manage Christmas? And he was like, well, one year we do it with this family, like this part of the family. And then the second year it's with this part of the family. And then the third year we take it off. And everyone does whatever they want. And I was like, that's brilliant. Because you've got a boundary. So, okay, yeah. And no one can get mad because these are the rules. It's like the people that are,
Yeah.
you know, I listened to a podcast one time and the girl was like, we have rules in our house. I load the dishwasher. My husband empties the dishwasher. I clean the shower. My husband cleans the toilet. They had sat down one day and they had gone, this is yours. This is mine. And if it gets to the point we don't like it anymore, we'll change it. It sounds so defined and rigid and, oh, we like life to be fluid and flowing. However, they say that within boundaries, there are freedom. And it's that whole concept of we only spend $10 on each other for gifts, or we don't buy gifts. And then there's the one person who decides that they just can't help themselves and they buy gifts. And that actually blows and it makes everyone awkward. So it's like whatever it is that's creating awkwardness and tension and stress around something that is supposed to be fun and joyful, how can we eliminate that? How can we have a conversation, communication around it, and go every year we end up in this same pickle and no one's having fun? How do we take that away? If there is tension, the easiest way to avoid the tension is to actually bring it to the forefront and manage it together. And I don't think there's many situations that doesn't resolve. And as you said, like, sure, there are going to be people that are going to have a rub with it. But if you can actually put it all on the table, it's like, yeah, but I love it when everyone comes for Christmas. Okay, well, every 3 years, you get that. And I just want to go on a vacation to Hawaii. Well, every 3 years, you get that. Wish granted. What do you want? Like,
yeah.
Imagine.
I love that. In my family growing up, we shared the Christmas day like that. So in the morning, we always got up, we did our thing at our house with just me and my sister and my parents. And then I suppose probably 11 or 12, I don't really remember what time it was, everybody came to our house, or we all went to my grandparents' house, or went to my aunt and uncle's house. And it was one of the three, and that was just the way it was. It's also funny because the first year my parents were married, they tell the story that they consciously decided together that they would spend all of the holidays of their first year of marriage with just the two of them. And they did that on purpose so that neither set of in-laws or parents would lay claim to any holiday that they had. Well, you were there last year, you need to come to our house for this year. Or they purposefully wanted to establish their own traditions with each other. And I have mad respect for that they chose to do it in a way that served their own needs and allowed some new traditions to develop separate from their parents. Because I think that's one of the hardest things about holidays, is that when you start getting multiple generations in the mix, there are expectations that start to happen around those traditions. And again, what does Christmas look like? And it's not Christmas if it isn't fill in the blank with whatever there. And I love that my parents chose to establish their own traditions. They did celebrate with their families. It's not that they didn't do anything. They just didn't do it on the holiday. And that was the way it always was growing up with my dad's mom, because she lived 2 hours from us. So we pretty much never spent a holiday on the day with her and my grandfather when he was still alive, because it was too far to try and make the trip on that day. So mid-December, we would usually make a day trip down to go see my grandparents. And they would give us whatever gifts. We'd take them home, put them under our tree, and they'd be ready on Christmas Day for us to open. And she always had her plates of cookies, and she usually had cake at Christmas, so that was always a win. But those were the traditions that we had established. And it didn't matter that it wasn't on Christmas Day. There wasn't this big pressure around, oh, well, it is this date at this time, and this is the tradition that we need to have here. It flowed and it was loose. And then in my mom's side of the family, on Christmas Day, we all took turns at the house of someone so that no one had the obligation of, well, everyone comes here every year. So we'd have to worry about it. And that beautiful balance between the tradition and the ritual combined with the freedom to explore and to change things up and not make things wrong. Like that to me is the perfect mix for being able to celebrate a holiday with joy, no matter what else is going on, no matter what else is different. And I kind of love that you guys are going to have this really amazing, unusual situation this year. Is the first year you're there. You may not be there another year. Who knows? But you're going to have this story of this Christmas forever now.
When I write my book, I've decided I'm going to write a book. When I write my book, I think one of the chapters might just be on Christmas, because I literally do not think I have had a consistent Christmas
I love
ever.
it.
And
all right, Tosh, 2025 goals, write book.
Right book. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, it's like every Christmas I've ever had has been like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen this year? Every Christmas in my entire life has been a different adventure. And that has not changed. Ian and I used to drive the ski bus at Christmas. There's literally always been something. We haven't had many Christmases where it was the same. And even to the point where we would go every Christmas morning, we would go skiing. Sometimes the only chairlift was open was the one at the bottom. The skiing was terrible. Or it was an epic powder day. It always is different. There's never been any consistency. And so really, I think for me, embracing the fact that my life is a unknown adventure always, and there was that one time that was awesome, maybe I could recreate that. No, that's never coming back. That was an experience that happened. It was super cool. What's next? I remember being quite drunk on Christmas Eve, and it was super cool. I went visiting a whole lot of different people. I was supposed to be home. Somebody offered me wine. Somebody else offered me wine. And I think I got home at like 8 o'clock at night. I was half blind, and that was super fun because I got to see all these people and experience all the stuff. Well, that never happened again. It's always been different. And so constantly trying to stuff myself into a box of normality, I think, is my life journey, is to realize that I am so far from being on anyone's normal pathway. We happened upon Brookings, Oregon, and we happened upon the Festival of Lights in Brookings, Oregon, because we saw a sign, and we went and saw 3 million lights set up, and it was the coolest. They gave us cookies and cocoa, and it was like being in a Christmas movie. It was so neat. And so then on Saturday, there was a Christmas parade. So we're like, oh, we'll go to the Christmas parade. It was a bit of a dud. We probably should have driven 4 minutes down the road and gone to the other Christmas parade, because there would have probably actually been a parade and there would have been more cookies and more cocoa. We didn't even stick around for the cookies and the cocoa. But I'm just soaking up whatever this is. I think when we really get stuck in life is when we are trying to use things to create feelings.
Yeah.
Because it won't work.
I think that really sums it up. It creates struggle, and it creates challenges, because the things are not where the feelings come from. You have to be able to create the feeling and then allow the outside to match that.
Yeah. When you know what you want to feel, then the things will be perfect. Whatever happens, whoever's there, wherever you are, will all magically happen because you are living in the feeling that you want. And I think that's where so much of our struggle in life comes from, is if I do X, then I will get Y. And you don't get Y, you feel jilted and you feel frustrated and you think that you need to do something else in order to get that thing. And the problem is, no matter what you do, if you're not in the feeling, it's not ever going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, this could go down a whole nother rabbit hole at this point because it's tricky. It's simple, it's not easy.
Yes.
And it can be so hard when you're talking about this in the context of Christmas, where there's memories, both good and potentially bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where there's expectations of culture
Mm-hmm.
placed upon you, and the stress and the strain of trying to meet expectations of other people or the expectations you place upon yourself. And sometimes the simplest thing to do is just put it all down. Yeah. And then start deciding how you want to feel first. And then after that, decide which of those things is going to align with that feeling.
Yeah.
And then stick to it.
Stick to it. And don't pick up the phone and look at what everybody else is posting about how perfect their Christmas was, because they're just all trying to do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with that, we're going to wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas. I hope you had an amazing day. I hope that it was absolutely perfect wherever you were, whatever you were doing, whomever you were spending it with, whether there was an abundance of presents or none at all. I hope that you got to take a rest, because this is one of those times. We only get them at this time of the year. It is real that during Christmas, people don't expect much of you. On Christmas Day through to New Year's Day, the whole world is actually resting. So take a break. Give yourself some time. Eat some cookies. Drink some cocoa. And love yourself more than anything else. I'm Natasha Lockey. You can find me sometimes on Facebook, Natasha Lockey. Instagram, I'm Betty at bettygohard.com. And that's about it right now. So I will be more active on social media as things progress. I've been a little hiding lately, but I'll be back. And what about you, Ginny?
Yeah, I'm Ginny Branden. I'm an animal communicator and energy healer for animals and their people too. You can find me on the web at soulpetconnections.com and on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Substack under the same handle. So if you are looking to connect a little deeper with your pets, then drop me a message and let's talk about how we can make that happen. So thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. I hope that you are able to find the magic of Christmas in whatever way that means to you. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, whatever this holiday season has in store for you, I hope it is bright and merry. You can find the podcast at ridingintheweeds.com and on all major podcast platforms. Please leave your likes, comments, and shares. We really appreciate it. It means a lot to us as small business owners. It helps us keep going. We look forward to seeing you next time, and have a fabulous holiday.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.